My first time ever done.
Enjoy that. Enjoy that.
Yes, I did. So, here. Yeah, I did. Yeah, yeah, go for it. Are you still good for Friday? I mean, right now. Oh, we have.
I'm literally, I used to know I'm sure.
That's not fun of our face. Hang on. You want to put up here? I don't know if that's back there. Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah, met at the, or did they both sit? Are you both? Anyway, I didn't have dinner for a reason.
No, I think we're rolling.
First time ever. Oh, wait, they have.
At least I'm. No, I'm all for it. Someone saying unanimous consent.
He did confirm the main key hall. There. Sorry. I immediately was like, have you gone to St. Leo or talked to anyone?
Yeah. Slowing down.
How we feel it?
Yeah. I'm fine. I only need to do it once, but you know, it'll be in and out of my system. Boom. How are all your meetings today? No, we're
My meetings today were fabulous.
yeah.
Oh, and she's like, she started reading your questions she's like, she gets like 4 words in and then she's like, I don't write. Thought process. And I kind of like, is that my practice right? It's like, she's like, I love her. She clearly started reading, getting her brain to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I have a question. Thank you.
Yeah, and it was great with.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I know probably a different face up here. Aiden is unfortunately under the weather, so I'm gonna try to be his replacement as best I can. Hunter here is gonna help me, but we're gonna start off just with a quick prayer. In the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Dear God, thank you for this day. Please guide us in everything we do. Help us to always have you in mind and always do things for your greater glory. Please protect, guard, and guide the students here, particularly those who are sick, and help us to always realize that each day is a gift and that you've given us so much. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Okay. So now we're gonna do roll call.
Okay, so our question today is, what is the last movie you watched? So it doesn't have to be your favorite one, but just like the most recent one you watched. Starting off, Louis Cornett. Or Proxy. Avery Gaylor. Proxy. Thomas Cluck.
I'm here, yeah. Silver Linings Playbook.
Amelia Forrest.
Here on Napoleon.
Ryan Murray.
Here, I can't remember, so I'll just say Harry Potter.
Caitlin Garcia.
Here, we watched Monsters University.
Sam Godinez.
The TV shows count? Or
Sure.
also.
Jacob Zabura.
Here, I'm about halfway through the 3 hour long Robert Pattinson Batman movie, hopefully finishing it tomorrow.
Ryan Lally.
Here, my roommates and I watched the Lego movie the other night.
Justice Walker.
Here, Fault in Our Stars.
Joseph Tunney.
Here, Pillars of the Flower Moon.
Cindy Scooby.
Here, 2001.
Isabel Rodriguez. Okay, awesome. Maria Bueno.
Here, she's all that.
Rocco Giannotti.
Here, Star Wars: A New Hope.
Justin Aguiar.
Here, Lord of the Rings, Two Towers.
Clay Chauncey.
Here,
Claire Hoban.
Here, anyone but you.
Libby Meister.
Here, also anyone but you.
Maeve Miller.
Here, The Notebook.
James Bradley.
here, Maestro.
Jaden Espinoza.
Here, the original Mean Girls.
Charlie Peel.
Here, Ice.
Bella Vasquez.
Here, Money Heist.
Maura Myers.
Here, Notting Hill.
Yara Obidi.
Here, Mean Girls musical.
Vinny Badali.
Here, The Dark Knight.
Andrew Ryan.
Here, Helm.
Ryan Casey.
Here, Braveheart.
Dorian Koshio.
Here, Airplane.
Mariana Esparza.
Here, Salford.
Quinn Shannon.
Here, La La Land.
Carl Collins. Or Proxy. Ian Show. Proxy. Faith Sullivan.
All this.
Do we have, oh. Lulu,
Here,
I'm sorry, what was your last name again?
Romero.
Romero, yes. Lulu Romero.
Here, The Edge of 17.
Rose Nguyen.
Here, Trolls.
Max Fight. Yes. So can you introduce yourself, name, dorm, year, and then a fun fact?
Okay, my name is Molly. I'm a sophomore in Walsh. And my fun fact is that there is a Walsh.
Leah Eklund.
Here's Mississippi Burning.
Do we have a proxy for Ava DeCroix?
Yes, here. RDM Lodgy, I'm a junior studying finance philosophy. I'm from Anchorage, Alaska, and fun fact, I speak Albanian.
Belle Marchetti. Or proxy. Aubrey DeStefano.
Here, anyone but you.
Daniel Chung.
Here, Step Brothers.
Hunter Brook.
I recently watched Mississippi Burning, and that is great, but it's There Will Be Blood.
Hannah Blashkowitz.
Here, I went to the film festival as well.
Lily Conadino.
Here, Blue Paisley.
Peter Schimpf.
Shotgun Maverick.
Bridget Shippers. Coronisa. Here, Barbie. Then Mo Doyle.
Here, and I'm pretty sure it's Barbie.
Okay, that's the end of roll call.
Great.
Also, if anybody came in late, just see me after, so I mark you as in.
All right, we're now gonna move on to the approval of minutes, so everyone, if you could, just look through the minutes real quick, and then, if there's any errors, we can get this fixed, and if not, we can go ahead and approve. Okay, any objections to the unanimous consent to approve the minutes? Seeing that there are none, the minutes are approved. All right, now we're gonna move into executive announcements. Campus Dining is here. They very generously have given their time and they've created a presentation for you all. So jam-packed with a lot of really cool information, very informative and stuff you should definitely all tell your dorm. So I'm gonna have them, you can stay there, come up, whatever's best, and I'll get your presentation.
Awesome. Well, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for giving us the time to be here. We thought that it was cool just to share a couple of initiatives that we're working on, and we'll try to save some time also at the end, a few minutes for questions and answers. I'd like to start by introducing the team that I have. This is the team that makes everything happen. I start with it. I'm Luigi Alberganti. I'm the Executive Director of Campus Dining. We have Ann, which is the Director of Retail. We have Reggie Khalili, Director of Student Dining, that is. Mark Potikowski, and he is in charge of auxiliary operations. So Religious Houses, Holy Cross College, and St. Mary's College that we provide services to as well. Chef Greg Lapson, Senior Executive Chef from Campus Dining, and Cheryl Bauer, she is the Director of Sustainability and Purchasing and Sustainability. Before we start, feel free to help with some goodies that we brought here. Chef, what's the day today?
The 31st is National Hot Chocolate Day.
Oh, National Hot Chocolate Day. So we brought Mexican hot chocolate from a street fair and some homemade cookies from Keepers as well. So Chef just finished making with his team a couple of minutes ago. So we'll start with that. We start with this is Mark, but please feel free to raise your hand with questions, comments, concerns, anything that you hear around. That's what we're here for. So thank you again.
All right, as Luigi said, I'm the Director of Auxiliary Dining, and what that is, that actually came about in like 2017 is about when this started. When Holy Cross was having some problems with their outsourced dining, they contacted Notre Dame, seeing if we could take over their dining hall. And then shortly afterwards, St. Mary's kind of said, I think a lot of students were talking about, hey, if Holy Cross got this deal, why can't we get campus dining too? So we moved in there as of 2020. And that started the whole tying in the tri-campus. As you see, St. Mary's at Noble Dining Hall, we serve about 1,600 meals a day there, as compared to just comparatively, both of the dining halls at Notre Dame were probably about 5,000 a day or so, if not more. But anyway, so it's about a third of that size. On average, of course, all your meal plans actually work there at both Holy Cross and St. Mary's. Not too many go over to Holy Cross, but more so St. Mary's. We see a lot of Notre Dame students for Sunday brunch. Notre Dame students watch the menu on boneless wing night. We get like 50, 60 Notre Dame students coming over.
You're gonna get 200 now.
Yeah. And then we have a couple other locations, 1844 Cafe and Murphy's. We have a Freshens Concept and a Starbucks. Holy Cross, about 500 meals a day. Like I said, just a few Notre Dame students come over. The other thing with Holy Cross is they have the Gateway program. So about 80 students start there as freshmen. And if they meet grades, they come on over. So they're able to integrate into Notre Dame early. I'll see large groups of their meal plans also work on this side. So I'll see them, especially like at dinner at South Dining Hall, I'll see large groups of them go there. So it's a good 60 to 80 meals a day. They come over across the street to North and South. And that's pretty much that. And then Religious Houses, of Corby Hall is all the people that, a lot of the active members of the congregation will be there. About 50 men are served there. We serve the seminarians at Moreau that's about to go over a renovation, and then Columba Hall with the brothers. So,
Thank you, Mark. As you know, this is a very mission-centric position. The idea is just to integrate the tri-campus experience. Raise your hands if you didn't know that you could go and eat at St. Mary's. Great. Mark, like I said, you're gonna get 200. School experience also, there's a lot of transfer students. We try to foster that community together. So next we have Ben. Yes. For retail, and well, allow me say that. That's awesome.
Awesome. My name has been On. I'm new here. I've only been here a semester now. I came from UNR. Before that, I ran F&B for Hard Rock Casinos. A lot of fun. This is very different. I really enjoy it here. It's very different. The weather, I'm not so keen on, but I'm learning. I'm definitely learning. Couple things. Right now, we are in partnership with Envision Strategies. They're a consulting firm. Again, what we're trying to do is determine the mix that we currently have. Is it the right mix? Do we need to change things around? What do you guys want? What should we offer? The locations, the times of operations, whether or not we want national franchises versus internal brands. An internal brand that we did on the fly was Street Fair. I mean, it's basically the concept is street food from across the nation, more across the world, Latin versus Asian. Something that's just different, that offers a little bit of diversity. But we're trying to determine in our master plan as we move forward, what is it that you guys want? Something that I discussed with Chef is having tastings, for you guys to determine, have you guys help determine the future of what we're going to do in retail. Just different tastings that allow you guys to determine what you guys want to see here. Also, another thing is our partnership with Grubhub and Starship Robots. Obviously everyone knows about the Starship Robots. We're heading towards the technology, and obviously, like this weekend, we had a little bit of a blip, a mix up with the technology, and it slowed down some of our deliveries. That's something that we're working with our partners to try to get over. But that's something that I oversee as well. Any questions about retail? No? Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. This is about being overseas about 16 different eateries, smaller versions. And like you mentioned, we're working with our consultants, mainly to understand what trends are out there. What's the market what's the market telling us about the newest trends? Ideally, we don't react with that, but after you gather the feedback from you guys probably, and some other stakeholders, we actually are able to put a 5-year plan. Now, this is what we see coming. There's considerations about renovating old outlets and whatnot, so that's a big part of it, so that's important as well. Reggie, the man of the dining place.
So there's a lot of information on this website, or on this slide. All it is a summation of the survey that we did. We conducted an intercept survey, which Hunter could speak on really. There it is. In both dining halls in the fall. And what we found, well, first of all, our first priority was to get at least 1,400 people, 700 from each hall. We were able to do that. And basically what that does is give us a better understanding of what's out there, good, bad, and ugly. One thing that we did hear a lot was that quesadillas is not something we want to remove from the dining hall menu. So we added that back in, and it's in the rotation again. And then, so we really wanted to see what the experience was, gauge the experience. If you saw improvements one year versus the next, even though this was given to all students, we actually filtered out, they could self-filter out first years. So they just by identifying, so we could see if we're comparing apples to apples, that type of thing. We are doing this again within the next couple of weeks, because we want to see the differences or changes in that process. If there's anything else that people like, because there was a lot of writing comments, hence the quesadillas. So we look at that and we try to add her if all possible. One of the big things that's not on this slide actually that we hope to be doing a year from now would be the renovation of South Dining Hall. It hasn't been renovated since the late nineties, and it is in great need of that. So we're in the planning stages right now, working with some architects as well as some food service vendors. Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, I just saw one of the comments, lines in case you.
Yeah.
About the lines. I just thought it was interesting, like, I feel like for some meals, Grubhub has been very helpful in speeding up the process, like burgers and maybe even quesadillas. But I feel like for others, like the omelet station in the morning, it's kind of slowed it down a little bit. Have you guys talked about that a little bit and how like Grubhub lines can?
So is it one hall versus the other? You see this?
My experience is mostly with the South Dining Hall, but I was just interested if you guys have kind of solicited any opinions on how the Grubhub kiosks have.
We have not. I had not heard that before, so we can look into that for sure.
Thank you, Reggie.
Yeah. Anything else? Yes.
I was gonna ask, because I'm a frequent South Dining Hall user, what would you say are like the one largest thing that you're looking to get out of any potential renovations the next year?
Flow, speed of service and flow. If you go into the servery now, which is kind of why Grubhub was brought in, was because if those lines were in the servery, they just go all over the place. So with Grubhub, that allows to move the lines out of the servery, and then you just come in when your food, as long as you use your phone in there, you just come in when your food is ready. So that is one of the things that hopefully the service area where the servery is now will expand in this renovation. It's definitely number one on our priority list. Thank you. Yes.
South Dining Hall is a very like classic contemporary building. Like, what is your plan to keep the integrity of that Hogwarts aspect so that alumni don't?
First of all, the dining hall was there before Hogwarts. But so the dining rooms per se are not going to change a whole lot because of that historical feel. Many alumni come in and want to use that space for receptions, so we're not going to change that for the most part. What we are changing is the center, the servery, the kitchen, and even into what used to be Wreckers, then Pizza Pie, now Grab and Go. All of that should change. Yes.
So, just looking at percentages, it seems like people that go to dining halls have less positive than one or the other.
Yes.
Any ideas on why that is?
So affinity, the loyalty that people feel for one hall versus the other. So if you don't have that, you don't feel that way. That was what we saw. Could be right, could be wrong, don't know. But good question. Yes.
I'm just curious, has there been any talk about building a third dining hall?
No. One of the pillars of the mission of Notre Dame is breaking bread together, and we want to be communal dining, and we incentivize that. But I want to get back to the issue of speed of service and flow. That's absolutely paired with preserving the historic value of the dining hall. I feel really, really good that we're going to be able to serve in a much faster fashion in there. That will reflect also with the new equipment and the new facilities, more efficient equipment that can produce faster, better, fresher food at a minute. That's going to be very evident, I think.
So I looked at him to answer that question because that is something we talk about all the time. I mean, with two dining halls, when we go through the renovation of South Dining Hall, North Dining Hall is going to be very busy. So we're looking at different ways of handling that influx of people. Northwest or South will still be open. We just don't know to what degree yet until we see the planning stages. Anything else? Yep.
I want to thank you for coming. I know all of the students are very appreciative to offer their insight to you guys. I did have one quick question about Grubhub from a student dining perspective, especially. I was wondering what the strategy with Grubhub might look like moving forward. Are we planning on sort of further integrating Grubhub into our dining experience, keeping it where it is now? Is there any feel on that?
So that'll depend on what the renovation of South actually looks like. So we did, a couple of the conversations we've had with the architects is the possibility of actually never even coming in to the servery. You just pick up your Grubhub order in the dining room. I mean, whether that comes through fruition or not, we don't know, but that's things we talked about. So it's hard to say. It'll definitely be at the level it is now.
But you definitely can see an enhancement of technology. I don't want to say Grubhub, but if there is a system out there that provides the services that we're looking after, probably that's good. So the technology is advancing, as we all know, very rapidly, and we're looking into things that can help us our flow.
I love this survey. Is there anything you have like on your website or something where students can give like ongoing active feedback? I haven't thought that now.
So there are avenues within ND Mobile, there is on our website, there is a text number you can text feedback to. There's a lot.
In the dining halls, you'll see stickers everywhere.
QR codes.
Just you scan it and takes you to a very quick survey. It's probably the fastest way.
This is directed to retail, but with street fair, I guess how successful has it been? And I guess how quickly do you evaluate whether a retail like store is working or whether it needs to be switched out?
I mean, it's gonna take several semesters to determine whether or not it's working. So far it is working. We've gotten some great feedback. I mean, like the fries that we do, I've been ordered tremendously, and so we need time to make sure that you know we can execute it. But so far, like I said, it's working pretty well.
But everything is under revision now. Back to your original question, with the help of with our consultants, and we're developing this master plan that we're probably, I don't think Chick-fil-A is gonna go anywhere. I don't think Starbucks is gonna go anywhere, but everything else, we have contracts with franchises. And what is a franchise? If there is a franchise that we're gonna engage with, if not, internal developing of concepts or whatnot. So what's your opinion on street fair? We're not.
It's not my most frequented place, but the stuff I've gotten, most of like the Asian stuff I've liked, and it's advantageous that it's not similar to what you can get at the other restaurants versus like Modern Market and Flip Kitchen. There's more overlap with like sandwiches.
Precisely, and that's our intention there was to address a void that we knew that we had for Asian food and Latin food. So probably those are, you can call it pilots that we're doing. And the idea just to add diversity to the portfolio is something that we'll constantly do. Thank you, good question. Anything else? So Greg is going next, I think, or is, no, he's sure.
It's great. Sorry.
Oh, great.
I hit it twice.
All right. All right, so my name is Greg Larson. I'm the Senior Executive Chef for Campus Dining. So I get to talk about the food, so I'm sure there'll be some questions, some feedback. First thing, just reflecting on the fall semester, you know, obviously Reggie already mentioned the quesadilla, but we also had some victories. We brought the carving stations back. We had the late lunch. Now this was solicited feedback that we actually received when Daniel and your team came in. So hopefully we keep that flow of information and communication, because that's how we write our menus. In the dining halls, we actually take the summer to write our menus based on the feedback that we get. So we're always open to as much feedback as we possibly can get. So also in the fall, it's mostly football games, candlelights, and things like that. Spring semester, we have a little bit more fun in what we do in terms of some of the variety of the stuff. The first thing that we're going to have here and coming up soon, quicker than it seems, but it's Fat Tuesday. So that's going to be a traditional Mardi Gras themed meal, kicking off the Lent season. Now, Lent season is always something we've got a lot of feedback on, because you're either like, you know, totally bought into that and all that. Also, it's the overall nutrition. So this year, a campus partner, our catering team has brought in Superior Seafood. So we're going to be able to explore some options from them to look at some different fish options instead of the stuff that you see all the time, like tilapia and salmon and things like that. But with Lent, it's also focusing on getting rid of a lot of the fried stuff. I mean, there'll be still some indulgent fried stuff here and there, but to offer fish, vegetables, and so you don't necessarily miss the center of the plate proteins, which I think a lot of people do, which will still be available in retail. Next, International Foods Week. So every year we do these events, we usually pull in somebody from our staff that wants to celebrate, you know, their culture and heritage with us, and we write recipes with them. This year we're pulling in foods from Brazil, Argentina, Ireland, the Balkans, and some Mediterranean seafood, because that does fall on Lent as well, which is that Friday. Something that was very successful last year, and this was a collaboration with different student groups as well, is Brain Foods Week. So that started the overnight oats and the chia puddings and things like that, but looking at breakfast primarily as a different way to offer, besides pancakes and sausage and things like that, some more nutritional foods and something that's a little bit more exciting, as well as lunch and dinner menus focusing on, things like plant-based proteins that aren't like faux proteins, but like nuts and legumes and stuff like that. And then healthier fats, avocados, then like I said, enhanced breakfast. And then in April, we have Multicultural Week. So we're actually gonna do some food from Jamaica. We have if you've ever had an omelet at North Dining Hall, Winsome, who's been with us for a long time. She's super excited to share some of her recipes with us. So we're gonna be highlighting her. Ethiopia, another employee-driven thing. The Philippines, and then Earth Day celebration to finish off that week, which will be a celebration of land and water. Usually, sustainability is a key factor in that. And then right now, I think this will probably happen in February, hopefully. We work with different restaurants, usually smaller mom and pop restaurants, restaurants that support and sustain their families with the food that they serve, local to South Bend, and we bring them into the dining halls to showcase them to all the students. We've done a couple last year, mostly with Latin restaurants. This year, we're going to focus on Asian restaurants. So we have a couple in mind that hopefully we could talk them into giving us some recipes, because I think that's where the hardest part is. They think we're going to have to steal their recipes or something like that. But it's just to promote their business and a local family in the community. Questions? No? Yes, please.
What's your favorite dining event?
I like when we get to cook food from scratch. Now, we do a lot of scratch food, but like a lot of these, especially international weeks, like we're making a choripan, we're making an Argentinian chorizo. And so we get to actually make that from scratch. That's where it's at for me. I don't really like the opening boxes. Like there's always some of that in the dining halls, but when we get to really cook food, I don't care what event it is. It's really what drives me. Yes.
I don't know. I should be directing this question at you, but are there any plans for bringing back, when they bring like an external chef, that comes and does the presentation and
like
stuff?
the celebrity chef?
Yeah, and then they have the meal.
So that usually happens in April, around that time, and I do believe they're talking about one. Last year we had Stephanie, which was great experience, but it's all great for our entire team. It's an educational thing, but also that event in the dining hall is pretty cool. So,
any questions?
So please, if you have feedback on food, I'm the one that you can direct it at, and I've got thick skin, so please, just be honest, because we do want to make this the best dining program. So, thank you. Thanks, Greg.
All right, so I'm Cheryl Bauer, and I'm the Director of Supply Chain and Sustainability for the university. And so basically, I'm professional label reader is how I've been described by many people. Anything that comes into the campus, I need to make sure that it gets logged so that if you have an allergen, if you have nutritional concerns, you're able to look it up, we're able to provide the food for you, and we keep you safe. But the other side that's a little bit more visible right now is the sustainability. A lot of people are talking about sustainability in food. Matter of fact, right now we have the Waste and Ways going on in both North and South Dining Hall this evening. And that's what this is showing, is just how much food is actually wasted on a meal period, which I know it never seems like a much when you're looking at your plate. This actually only equals out to be about 2 3/4 to 3.5 ounces per plate. But this is taken on Wednesday nights, and we have about 2,200 diners per evening on a Wednesday typically. But you can see we have 430 pounds of food waste just off of the students' plates on a night for September. It dropped down a little bit in October, back up again in November. We have some students that are working with us that they're trying to understand what is it that causes the food waste. They're looking at it. Does it happen to be the same type of food all the time? Is there messaging that we could use? So pretty soon you're going to be seeing some signage that's coming up in the dining halls that's talking about this, and we're going to try and further dive into what we can do to help lessen that amount of food waste. So there's things that's always gonna be wasted. We don't expect you to eat the chicken bones, and that is part of this, the orange peels. But a lot of it is partially eaten pieces of pizza or lasagna. So if you have any thoughts about any of these processes, we would love to understand this a little bit better as well. Yes?
I was gonna ask, cause I know the stir fry, like I eat smaller portion sizes, but the stir fry is really good. And then it's like very daunting to have a huge plate in front of you and want to eat it, but no, you probably should stop. Is there like a way to possibly adjust like the size of things in your stir fry so you feel like you can enjoy something but not waste it?
Yeah, that we have talked about that with Grubhub, you know, do we give you an option? Smaller portion size, or you want it bunless if it's the hamburger and you're gluten-free. So instead of wasting that bun, you're just getting it without. So there are discussions going on like that.
In fact, we're looking at that, has to do a lot with facilities, right? With the flow that we're trying to build and the speed of service, because the more variables that we include there, the slower the service will be. But definitely that is a, and this data that Cheryl is talking about is gonna present if we have a lot of waste from that particular area. That's the first one that we're gonna attack. Thank you. Please.
Hunter.
Thank you for coming as well. I was wondering maybe if you wouldn't mind explaining sort of what happens to food that goes uneaten or wasted food just for the sake of.
Sure. So as you can see, this lovely little blue vessel on the corner, we have something called grind to energy. And what we do is we take all the waste back and grind it up. It's kind of like your incinerator that you have at home, and we put it into these tanks. It gets hauled away down to a dairy farm, and it actually gets turned into energy. So the good thing is the waste that's coming out, it's not going to a landfill. They're able to blend that with other waste that they have from the dairy farm. It provides all the energy needed on that farm, which is the largest dairy in the state of Indiana. But then they sell energy back to the grid. All the solids then becomes fresh bedding for the cows, and all the liquids is used for fertilizer for their fields. So none of it goes unused. They have no methane that's ever flashed out of the process, and there's a lot of digesters that do. So it really is a great process that we've had in place now for 6 years, I believe it is. A big win, and we've showed other universities this process. So we're working with a couple really big event places in the state of Indiana to try and get them to take this stuff as well. It's exciting.
The food that's prepared but not put on plates at the end of like the day, is that also like thrown out, or is it reused?
A lot of it depends on what happens to it. It could be reused or reimagined. You know, chicken tenders that are cooked and unused, they can get diced up and put into salads going forward. It could be served on a lunch if it was at a dinner, if there was large amounts of it. If there's only a pan of something left, maybe we donate it to someplace like Cultivate Culinary, which is a local food rescue place in South Bend that repackages it and either makes boxed portions that go in backpacks for school-aged children to take home with them over the weekends. It could be given to the homeless shelter. There's a lot of different places that it goes. It just really depends on what it is. Why is it left over? If it was something that's left over because it's accidentally was temperature abused, of course, we're going to dispose of that because we don't want to make anyone ill. But if it's edible food, we try and get it to people before it gets disposed.
Yeah, I was wondering like if you know about like how our student body's food waste compares to other universities of our size.
That would be a very interesting review to go through.
Got a question right here.
Sorry. Have you noticed that as lines get shorter, there's less waste? Because I feel like a lot of times, like if I'm waiting online for like 20 minutes, I'll probably get more food because I just like really don't want to ever have to go back up and wait again. Like, have you guys even noticed that like comparison between when lines are getting a little bit more efficient versus like more waste?
We have heard that people tend to take larger portions because they don't want to have to wait in another line again, because you obviously have to go back up as many times as you want. But that means that you'd have to go and wait another 20 minutes. So that is something that we've talked about.
Another question somewhere.
Here. When it comes to food waste, what is like the goal that you guys are trying to, like, obviously it can't be zero. So like what is the
Well, we
idea?
would like to see a 10% reduction every year, and that's our goal. One of the aspirations that we have again with new facilities and we're able to cook a la minute, so that we don't have to cook items until they're needed. So we can predict that there's going to be less waste that way as well. But ideally, 10% reduction would be great.
We've seen in certain times when food is wasted more. Like if at 7 p.m. food is wasted more rather than at 8 p.m.
Reggie?
So we haven't done that correlation with time and waste. We are talking about different ways of doing it. So we don't even, the way it currently runs, it's one typically on a Wednesday, but in one dining hall 1 week and then next the other. So moving forward, what we want to do, get to the point where we can do this, is to do it on both nights or both halls at the same night, so you can compare the contrast between the two. That's an interesting, just like it is to compare to other schools, because we never thought about that. I mean, we use a system that would give us the ability to do that. We just have to reach out to the people that we use the software. But yeah, no.
Other questions about sustainability?
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much again. We remain at your disposal for any future questions. Shoot us an email. In the meantime, we're extremely appreciative of being here and connecting with you. To recap, I hope that you saw pretty much the North Stars that we have in Campus Dining, but number one, obviously producing the best possible product for you guys. But there is a strong culinary emphasis that we're putting together, and especially after COVID, recovering from COVID, and let's start now, we think that we have the talent. Chef is doing a nice team with so you see a lot of creativity in the kitchen. We're seeing a lot of scratch cooking. You're seeing a lot of fresher ingredients. Cheryl's working really hard with local vendors. That's not always easy because of the climate that we're in, but whenever we have seasonal items, we showcase those. So that combination with great updated facilities are definitely going to be good. Retail master plan, we're in the hands of experts. Brosio's feedback, feel really, really good about that. So we'll see how that, and that's just affect our staff. We are in a much better position than we were a couple of years ago. We're still trying to hire to the max, but the market is what it is, but we'll feel a lot better. So with that being said, thank you very much. Any last minute questions, please shoot it away.
Thank you, Vijay. Really appreciate it. If you all ever have any feedback, questions, send them my way. I can get it to the right people. But thank you again for being here. Really appreciate it. Of course. All right, so we're gonna move now into executive announcements. Big thing next week for StuGov, we have Civic Engagement Week, all about promoting civic engagement, democracy, big collaboration with the Office of the President as well. So on Monday, the 5th in Duncan Student Center from 5:30 to 7:30, there's a voter registration drive. So if you aren't registered to vote, get registered, tell people in your dorm to get registered. And then on Tuesday, also in Duncan Student Center from 5:30 to 6:30 is the absentee ballot workshop. A lot of us are voting in states that aren't Indiana. We come from all over the country and the world. So if you're interested in learning how to vote in your home state while in Indiana, you can come to this. Great. Now we're in general order. So 3 things we got to get through today. The first is SO 2324-11 in order to clarify membership of the off-campus vice president in the student senate. Just for context, there's just right now a disagreement between the Senate bylaws and the Constitution, so we just got to hash that out. Second. All those in favor of dispensing the reading? Opposed? Abstained? All right, we've dispensed with the reading. We are now in questioning.
Move out of questioning into debate.
Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Great. We're now in debate.
I just want to say, I got very constitutionally smart this past winter break. I've looked at all the bylaws and read all the Constitution twice. I think if I passed it, I'm going to have double the experience of previous parliamentarians, which will look very nice in my application.
We're still in debate.
Motion to move out of debate into a vote.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? All right, we're now going to take a vote on SO 2324-11. So all those in favor of SO 2324-11? All those opposed? All those who abstained? That's why. The motion passes. Great. So one done, two more to go. Next up, SO 2324-12, in order to amend Article 12 of the Constitution. This went through ComCon, so Hunter, you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yes, sure. It was reviewed by the Committee on the Constitution. They voted unanimously to approve it. There is a decision which I could read, or someone could make a motion.
All those in favor of dispensing with the reading? Opposed? Abstained? Great. Dispense with the reading. We're now in questioning.
Motion to move out of questioning into debate.
Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? We're now in debate.
Motion to move out of debate.
Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? We are going to take a vote on SO 2324-12. All those in favor? All those opposed? All those abstained? The order passes. Great. Okay, moving on to the third and final in general orders. SO 2324-13, an order clarifying the publication of Senate documents. Right now, basically, it just says that the Constitution just says that the Senate must be in charge of publishing the Senate documents. Very vague. This would give Hunter and the parliamentarian the authority to do that. Hunter, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to very quickly say, none of these changes are very big to the Constitution. Admittedly, most of them are fixing things. But as general practice, I think it's a good idea to at least know what's being changed and like have some idea, especially when we're dealing with the Constitution, which outlines like fiscal policy and huge operational rules for how things work, of kind of what's being tweaked. So I'm not saying I'm going to read it. I'm just saying, like, you know, try to have some understanding. And if you don't, then when we come to questioning, just say, what's this doing? You know, would be my recommendation. So I don't want to be like the old guy who's like, do this, but that's my 2 cents. Anyway.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? We've dispensed with the reading and we are now in questioning.
So who uploads the Senate documents? You or the deputies?
Currently?
Yeah.
I would say probably 70% me, 30% deputies. I ask the deputies to help me upload Senate documents if I have something that demands my attention, like immediately after Senate or other things going on, for example.
I motion to move out of questioning it into debate.
Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? We are now in debate. Any objections?
So I saw in the new business, it talks about establishing deputy parliamentarians as enumerated positions. So if you said that 30% of them uploading them, why not include them in this clause?
So, in essence, the order that is putting them in the Constitution is saying they can do anything that I ask them to do, or like fulfill any responsibilities that have been assigned to the parliamentarian. So kind of the way that's written would be interpreted to say they can do this as well. And that's kind of how it's been interpreted. I'd say the order that is putting them in the Constitution really is not changing anything from an interpretive standpoint, just making it clearer. Does that kind of answer your question? Great.
Motion to move out of the debate into a vote.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? We're now going to vote on SO 2324-13 in order of clarifying the publication of signed documents. All those in favor, opposed, abstained, the order passes. Great. Okay, so we have 3 things in new business. Obviously, we don't have to go through them today. We can do it next week, but I do want to draw your attention to item A, which is an order calling for a referendum regarding the ban of PEVs on campus. Basically, a referendum is essentially a poll, a student poll. And so the idea would be that this could be, if this was moved up to from new business to general orders, the idea would be that this could be added to the student body election, which is taking place next week. So it would essentially say, like, who are you voting for? And then question 2 would be, what are your thoughts on the PEV ban? We can keep it in new business, and then the alternative would be that if it's passed, it would be added to the class council elections. So totally up to y'all what you want to do. But Hunter?
I would also just quickly add, if it is not moved up and it does go onto the class council ballot, if you guys vote to approve it, the only difference really, or a difference would be no seniors would be able to vote because they are not electing a sort of class council president. So they would not be able to offer input in this, but I mean, I leave that to you guys. Just wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
They also, just as a quick question, well, what if class councils, like, what if there's only one ticket?
Wait, can you say that louder? I'm sorry.
What if there's only one ticket for class council?
So if only one person is running for a class council election, then the judicial council will not hold an election. They'll ask the Senate to suspend it, and then those people automatically assume office. So yeah, if there's only one person running, there will be no ballot for that to go on for that class. Question, no, Senate and call president elections happen at the same time. So yeah, for sure. I mean, we could finagle it around. At that point, it would probably be more a question of workload. It might be more technically difficult to do from a J council perspective, but I think it would. I mean, I'm not super involved in elections, but I think it would probably be feasible. I think it would just be a lot trickier.
Also, I think with HBC elections, aren't some not run through judicial council?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's actually a very fair point. Yeah. In dorms that opt out of our electoral processes, we can't put that on the ballot. Yeah. So any dorm opting out, choosing to run things for themselves would be not able to offer insight into this. And then obviously any dorms where we suspend elections as well. So like if you won your Senate election by us suspending it because you were the only one running, your dorm would not be able to offer insight either.
So I just have a question. Does this have to happen concurrently with an election? Or are you just saying that so it would like increase turnout?
It does. I mean, I'm hesitant to say it does, but in past referendums have always been attached to ballots. Yeah.
Just a clarifying question, like when you say dorms opting out of the general electoral process, is that purely based on precedent, or what members of a dorm community have the ability to make that decision as to what process they're going to use?
Sure. So every dorm has, and you guys can offer insight on this as well if you'd like. From my point of view, I'll just say from my point of view, every dorm has a hall election coordinator, and then J Council works with them, and they, in correspondence with the other leaders in their hall, can decide whether they want to opt in or opt out of our election processes. So that happens every year. It's not reliant on precedent. It's them telling us actively, this year we want to opt out. It so happens that usually dorms that opt out continue opting out, but it's a decision that's actively made. I don't know if you want to add anything on that.
It's worth noting that usually they will also have an election, and there's also a debate that happens within halls. So this could still be included in the discussion of the election president, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I'm not saying they don't have an election. I'm just saying we have, like, J Council has less direct line of sight to their election, and therefore, from my understanding, less ability to make sure that everything is being voted on in an appropriate way.
I also want to say that this referendum isn't gonna, the results of this poll, it's not gonna change anything. It's merely a way to gauge student feedback, gauge student thoughts and perspectives on the issue.
I just want to say, I know it's late, and I am completely understanding, but even if you disapprove the referendum, it's best that we just consider it now, tough it out, because in the occasion that it passes, then we can include more. So I seek unanimous consent to SO 23-15 out of new business in the general.
Are there any objections to to moving SO 2324-15 from new business to general orders? Okay, seeing that there are none, we're going to move item A to general orders, and we are now in questioning, or yes, reading. Yeah,
Motion to dispense with the reading.
Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Great. We've dispensed with the reading. Now we are in questioning.
Yeah, so have you, I know Dan kind of said this isn't really expected to change, but have you reached out to admins to see if they would consider the results of this?
So no, but I had a meeting with Hunter and Aiden. I just so you know, my whole point is just informational purposes. I am not trying to completely overturn the decision. This is just as a way to kind of get student feedback on the issue.
I also want to add that students were involved with this decision. There was a committee that was formed. I was tasked with assigning students to that committee. So there was student input.
In terms of informational motivation, let's just try to collect information. Could you please clarify what that is expressing for? If there's no hope of this actually changing the decision that was made, where like this information you're collecting, like what is the purpose of it? What are you hoping to do with it? Who are you looking to send it to? Or is this purely just you want to know more about it?
It's mostly kind of the fourth option that I'm trying to get a wide variety of student feedback from all across the campus, because realistically speaking, there's no like clear consensus whether it's whether the student population agrees with it or disagrees with it. And I think that having at least that number of say for example, 48% agree, 39% disagree, or something of the sort, could be extremely helpful for future references. Just as an idea of
Motion to move out of questioning into debate.
Exactly.
We're going to vote on it. All those in favor of moving out of questioning into debate? All those opposed? All those abstain? Okay, we're now in debate.
Okay, so as a debate, curious if anyone has any thoughts on what could be said if this could give students the false impression that that this could influence future policy, as even though it says in here that it wouldn't reverse it, but curious if anyone has any thoughts that this could give people the false impression.
Yeah, I just feel a little confused as well, because I remember reading the original report that came out. That was the actual ban of PEVs. And the one sense that I did get from it was, regardless of if students were split on it, due process was followed very well. There was a lot of thought and effort put into it that reflected much more than just, do students like their personal electric vehicles or not, or are they fun? And I think that this gives the false impression of, well, if students like them enough, we'll bring them back. And I just feel like this referendum or this order is, I feel like this order is not clear in what it's being used for, not clear in who it's going to, not clear what the purpose of it is, other than just fact gathering. And it inadvertently undermines the due process that was already followed.
Just a couple of things real quick. With all due respect, I think due process was kind of a joke from people I talked to. It was like a very selective committee who like voted on the PEVs, and like once again, if people think it's gonna bring the electric scooters back, they'll be really honest with their feedback. So I don't think it really matters like specifics. I mean, if it's going to be used for fact checking, it's going to be used for fact checking. It's not that big of a deal.
Sam, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah. Even though it is for purely informational purposes, if anybody wants to add a motion to amend VSA for purely informational purposes, that's totally fine. If in case you want to swim by population side, it's not.
I'd like to motion to add a friendly amendment to the first, like part one of the thing that adds another sentence that says, like, this isn't a vote on bringing back scooters, but having. Like information, like, I don't know how to actually, but that's what
Yeah,
I
like,
like.
what specifically, is it like on the question?
No, on the part one, there's 3 parts enumerated.
Yeah.
Oh, the referendum is just part A. Maybe then at the end of the question, how would you describe your personal opinion on the recent ban of PEDs?
Like in parentheses, perhaps, this is for information purposes only, or is it a survey?
Yeah, something along those lines, but I think I realized.
So I would need your exact language if
Okay,
you're proposing a friendly amendment.
Yeah, I like that.
Can you say that again?
This, the survey is for informational purposes, only, and has no direct bearing on personal policy.
Great. And this has to be approved by the author and any co-sponsors. So author and co-sponsors in the room, you okay with this change?
This will be for you, there's information purposes only, it has no direct bearing on personal policy.
All the co-sponsors good with it? Great. Okay.
Awesome. There we go. Direct.
Okay, great. So this friendly amendment has been approved. We are still in debate.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I think we don't say this for other orders when in fact the nature is kind of the same. The nature of a Senate order, to my understanding, is that it is, this student body calling upon a university institution to make a change. Now, whether or not they choose to make said change is up to them, but it is calling upon them to make that change. And so while this is not directly calling upon them to make a change, like I think the reason we're saying, oh, we don't want people to get this false hope is because this decision was made very, very suddenly. And students, and it's a very contentious issue, and a lot of students feel like their voice was not heard in it. And so I think, if anything, like, it's not the nature of this that is different than any other Senate order. It is the situation and the issues being discussed, which I think actually would make students' voices being heard on the matter more clearly a more valuable initiative.
I have just a point of order. Did you intend to say this survey is for informational purposes, or are you okay with this is for informational purposes?
This question.
Okay.
Survey, I'm here.
And then I did want to just raise the point very quickly. I can't make any motions or recommend anything, but it says, how would you describe your personal opinions on the recent ban on PEVs, period? And then it has this survey is for informational purposes, question mark, with a space between that and the question mark. I just make sure, because this is gonna get sent, if it passes to everyone, that the language and grammar be up.
Oh, and I know this opportunity for a question, but I'm gonna propose something, and if someone has an answer, I would appreciate it. Would this survey be like opt-in? Like you can choose to answer it or not answer it, or would everyone who receives the survey or the ballot have to answer it? Also, I'm a little worried that this could be like, if it's opt-in, we can get like a biased result, because I know my friends who have had scooters, especially athletes, are pretty upset since the ban, especially those living from far away, having to, either ship it back home, paying significant amount in postage for boxes, and it's a hassle. Yeah. But I think it could help clarify, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, so there's an option to abstain or to be neutral. So basically, if one is under the impression I don't want to answer the question because I just don't care, they can just choose to abstain. So that's kind of the reasoning behind it.
I just feel like this is, since it's such a pressing issue, like I feel like the time we're putting into it isn't necessarily enough, especially with how heavy people feel about it. And I think there could possibly be a change on transportation, especially like you mentioned for athletes. I do not think that it's necessarily fair that, they basically work on the side like a full-time job in their sport, and then like their transportation or like what they're used to is cut. But I just think that maybe this isn't the answer. And the struggle, I also see the struggle of it being an opinion-based survey, like completely, how do you feel about something, when I think that the overall decision was made for campus well-being and student well-being, especially like if people would have tried to ride scooters last week when it was ice, because while most of us, I would hope, would make the decision not to, I know for sure that there would have been people still trying to ride their scooters, and we saw how people were literally like bruising themselves from just falling by walking on ice. So I think that I just think that this could just potentially lead to greater harm and an overall students just being more upset that they feel like their voice isn't heard through a survey, when that we might not even be able to, I don't know, let's like get it heard through it. I don't know. If that makes sense.
And to do something.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that a survey did go out. We got plenty of emails about it. I filled out the survey about the EVs, like everyone got it. It was on the weekly blast of emails as like a link, and there was also forums that you could have gone to actually voice your opinion.
Sam, go ahead.
Yes, a form was released, but it only got 586 responses, to my understanding, in comparison to 14,200 individuals. That's students, faculty, and staff. And well, no, students and faculty. I'm not even considering staff because I couldn't get the exact data. A lot of individuals did not want to fill out the survey, or well, just didn't see the necessity in it. That's why it didn't have like a higher response. So now knowing what happened, I think a survey is just better.
I just wanted to say, you said a 14,000 number.
Yeah.
From a J Council perspective, this would go on an email sent, or only to, or not an email, but communication sent only to undergraduate students. So not 14.
I know.
Motion's to move out of debate to
All those in favor of moving out of debate and into a vote? Opposed? Abstained? Okay, we're now going to vote on SO 2324-15, in order calling for a referendum regarding the ban of PEVs on campus. All those in favor of the referendum? All those opposed to the referendum?
Keep your hands up.
Oh, you counted me. I don't know if you counted.
I think. Okay. I don't think I need to wait. Here, can you just, raise your hand one more time.
Okay, all those in favor of the referendum. All those in favor of the referendum. Those who want it to be added. Okay. All those opposed to the referendum. All those who abstain from the referendum. The motion fails. All right, we are back in new business. So 2 items, you can choose to move up, you can choose not to move up. Your choice.
Motion to move out of new business.
Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? All right. Announcements. I just want to make one. Campus Dining brought cookies and Mexican hot chocolate, so please grab some on your way out. Any other announcements? We're still on announcements, guys. Hang on. We're still on announcements. Go, Lily.
So we only have Acoustic Cafe this week. It's tomorrow from 8:30 to 10:30 in Haggerty. But keep your eyes out for a few new events coming in 10 minutes.
Okay.
Our Hill Signature Spring event is tomorrow, Miss ND at Washington Hall. I think the doors open at 7. You can get tickets that way.
Next Wednesday is Siegfried's annual event, Day of Man, so we'll all be out there in shirts and shorts, raising money for the South End and the homeless. There's a link to donate as well. Just be on the lookout and make sure to spread the word. All donations will be appreciated.
Now that we've entered campaign season, please be aware that if you are in this room, you almost certainly cannot endorse someone and should absolutely avoid doing so. Great.
Freshman formal is this Friday. If you have freshies in your dorm who haven't gotten a ticket, we're about to reopen it. The freshman class kind of went in an uproar about it, so we're about to send email communications out that there will be more tickets.
Any other announcements? Okay, we need a motion to adjourn. All those in favor of adjourning, opposed, abstained, meeting is adjourned. Thanks, guys.
You got Acoustic Cafe, you got your stuff. There's a Acoustic Cafe, be proud.
Literally, you're taking a call. Stu, yeah, go talk to Dave.